Zoning Commission meeting. The meeting is being recorded, televised, and viewable on Swiftel Channel 19, ITC Channel 168, or Brookings County YouTube channel. Do we have approval of the minutes from last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I'll take it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any items to be added to the agenda by commission members and staff?
Just our typical staff report.
It's invitation for citizens to schedule time with the commission agenda for an item not listed. Seeing none. Any disclosure of conflicts of interest, relationships to applicant, ex parte communication? Seeing none. Can I get approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll now convene as the Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission. Brookings County Planning Commission is a 9-member commission whose function is to recommend approval or disapproval of land use plans, zoning ordinance, subdivision plats, and amendments thereof to the Brookings County Commission. The Commission takes its recommendation based upon the adopted comprehensive plan for the physical development of the unincorporated areas of Brookings County. As a matter of policy, all motions are made in the positive. After a motion is moved and seconded, it is open for debate. Those supporting the motion shall in turn give their reasons. Those opposing the motion shall then offer their reasons. After everyone has been given a chance to be heard, the commission shall recommend approval or disapproval based on the testimony and information presented. Simple majority vote of the quorum of members of the Planning and Zoning Board in attendance is required to forward the recommendation. Okay, consideration of plat 2022, plat 012. Plat of Block 1, Part addition of the government lot of Section 33, Township 109 North, Range 50 west of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
You get 'em?
Who? Yes.
Do we have the staff report?
Yes, the 2022 plat 012, the applicant / owner is Jonathan Hart, Clubhouse Drive, Brookings, South Dakota. The adjoining landowner is Mary Jo Minor, also lives on Clubhouse Drive in Brookings. Legal description of the plat is Block 1, Hart addition in Government Lot 1 of Section 33, Township 109 North, Range 50 west of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Jonathan Hart is enlarging his existing lake lot by 0.53 acres to the north and east. The lot is located on Lake Campbell, and the adjoining property is owned by family. Enlarging his lot to meet the setbacks requirements for a proposed attached garage addition on the northeast side of his existing house. The existing 1-acre lot was described with a footage description and will now be known as Block 1 of Hart Addition with 1.53 acres. The proposed lot exceeds the 20,000 square foot requirement for lake lots. The plat meets the platting requirements for the 2016 Comprehensive Plan Unincorporated Rural Area Land Use Statement on page 24 for agricultural land use. And that's what the plat looks like. And here's There's a fancy picture of the map. That's the end of the report, sir.
Mr. Hart here.
I don't believe so.
We will remind the public they're allowed 5 minutes to speak. Any proponents this time? Saying none. Any opponents? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any additional comments or questions from the board? Okay, call the vote.
Bartley,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
Diedrich,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Truian,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson,
Aye.
Storhog,
Aye.
and Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We'll now convene as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment. Board of Adjustment is a 9-member board which has the power to hear requests of variance, conditional uses, appeals from ministerial decisions of zoning officer. The concurrent vote of 2/3 of the full board membership of the board, which is 6 votes if there's 9 members here, is necessary for approval of a variance or an appeal of the zoning officer. The concurring vote of the simple majority of the board members present and voting is necessary for the approval of a conditional use permit. In accordance with Robert's Rules of Orders, we require a motion to approve a request before the request can be debated. As a matter of policy, all motions are made in the positive. The board, under specific orders granted it by the state, shall authorize variances from the zoning requirements where special conditions exist on the land will result in unnecessary hardship of the applicant. Financial disadvantage to the property owner shall not constitute proof of unnecessary hardship. We have variance 2022 variant 012. Luke DeBoer has made application 2022 variance 012 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance. Article 18, Section 18.02, move-in buildings. Number 2, C. In the absence of consent of all neighbors above provided, the Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission, by a 2/3 majority, may authorize the issuance of a building permit for the moving in of the proposed occupied residence after public hearing. Property is described as the north 442 feet of the east 750.5 feet of the southeast quarter of Section 22, Township 109 North, Range 49 West, Trenton Township, located at 21759 476th Avenue, Aurora, South Dakota. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, the staff report on this one. Mr. DeBoer has applied for a variance to move in a previously occupied residence onto his property due to adjoining landowner not signing the adjoining landowner form as required in the ordinance. He's applied for this variance. The applicant meets all the requirements to get a building permit except for having the adjoining landowner's signature. The used residence is from Brookings County, where it is waiting to be moved onto the applicant's property. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on June 21 and June 28, 2022. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, Brookings County Highway Department, and Trenton Township Chairman and Clerk. And he stopped by and filled out the paperwork on June 6th. And is the applicant here tonight? Please come up to the... The applicant is here, and he'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. That's the end of the report.
This time we'll open the public hearing. We'll remind people that you're allowed 5 minutes per person to speak. Any proponents to the issue? Any opponents to the issue? This time we'll close the public hearing. Any additional comments or questions from the board?
Just one question. Did you have a conversation with the one property owner that did not sign off?
I had conversation with the farmer who farms the land around our property. He does not own it, but he contacted the owner, I guess, on my behalf because he wouldn't give me his cell phone number or his email or anything to actually contact him directly. And the property owner emailed directly and said he would not sign the form.
No explanation as to why.
No, just that he would not sign it.
So you didn't have a direct conversation with him?
No, I have no way of getting hold of him directly. From my understanding, he lives, according to the address on the form, he lives just outside of Minneapolis, nowhere near here. The Minor family, they farm the land around our property on that half section and the half section across the road from us, just east of us. And I've got a good relationship with Lance Minor and that family. And so when I didn't hear anything back after 2 weeks of sending the letter to the owner, I contacted Lance. Lance said, I will email him and see if he'll sign it or send it back to him or give an explanation. He just replied back, I will not sign the form, and that's all that Lance told me or would share with me. So
It is important to note that the landowner, actual owner, he just took it on his own not to reply back to us.
I mean, we could take the not reply or not, I won't sign it to be, I don't care, or I object, but my concern, he just didn't want to sign the form for permission.
yeah, that's all the information that I have at this time.
And you got permission from the rest of the property owners adjoining?
He owns all the land around us.
He owns all the land around you?
Yes. Our closest neighbor, no one lives in the plot across the street from us. That is an abandoned farm that he actually owns. And our closest neighbor after that is a quarter of a mile north of us. And we were not told that we had to get permission from them. We weren't given a letter for that. So
Looking at the beacon picture here, it looks like at one point in time it did have a residence on it, or is it all just
it
auxiliary
still has a
building?
home on it. It's torn. It's falling apart, falling down. It's a
Okay,
house
so you're just
that-
going to replace it with a different house?
Well,
That's
no,
moving in.
our property is the one circled in yellow.
Yeah.
We live on that property now, in the home on it now.
Okay.
And over the course of the last couple of years, between building new or whatever, we decided that we wanted to move a home onto the property and remodel it. So that's what we do. We found the home is from Hamnick Dairy. It's the old farm home that was built originally in 1916 there. And we're moving it onto our property, and then we are going to remodel it from top to bottom and move into it and then tear down our old home.
Just needed a little history there, but I certainly don't object to it since you're already living on the property and you have a house there and you're just going to upgrade it. I don't have an issue with that. Just wanted to hear the whole story of what was going on there. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Is there any objection from the farmer that farms the ground?
no,
comments or questions? Okay, read the findings of fact.
You say the findings were? Under July. Right here. All right.
Sorry for the delay, but it's a little bit of an odd meeting tonight because a few of the members that take control of most of that stuff are on vacation.
Understand.
We're trying.
No worries.
That's all right. I did this from 2003 to 2013, long before he joined the board. Okay, and the findings of facts. Application for a variance. Zoning Commission acting as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Luke DeBoer regarding the following real property: north 442 feet of the east 770.5 feet of the southeast quarter of section 22, township 109, north range 49, west Trenton Township, located 21759 Avenue, Aurora, South Dakota 57002. After due notice, a public hearing having been held on the application on July 5th, 2022, Brookings County Board of Adjustment here finds that the strict application of the zoning ordinance would produce undue hardship, that the hardship is not shared generally by other properties in the same zoning district and same vicinity, and that the authorization of such variance would not be substantial detriment to adjacent property, and character of the district will not be changed by the granting of the variance, and that granting of the variance is based upon reasons of demonstrable and exceptional hardship as distinguished from variations for purposes of convenience, profit, and caprice. Number two, Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finds that the condition or situation of the property concerned or the intended use of the property is not so general or recurrent as a nature as to make a reasonable, practicable formulation of a general regulation to be adopted as an amendment to the zoning ordinance. Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finds that the written application of the petitioner demonstrates that special conditions and circumstances exist that are peculiar to the land, structure, or buildings in the same district, and that literal interpretation of the provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of the ordinance, that the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, and that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other land, structures, or buildings in the same district. Number four, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finds that the reasons set forth in the application justify the granting of the variance, and that the variance is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure, that granting other variance will be in harmony and general purpose and intent of the Brookings County zoning ordinance and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions this variance upon the following special conditions or safeguards. A, adjoining landowner did not sign the adjoining landowner form for a used residence to be moved in onto the applicant's property as required per Brookings County zoning ordinance Article 18, Section 18.02. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petitioner a variance for the above described real property as follows. Move in a previously occupied residence onto his property to be used as the primary residence. The existing residence is to be removed or tore down, and we've got a document on file at the office that requires that. This variance is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the conditions and safeguards in number 5 above, and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. Brookings County zoning director will be authorized to issue any required building building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance if approved. If this variance is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid, dated July 5th, 2022. It will be signed July 5th, 2022, and filed on July 6th, 2022. Any questions on the findings?
Mr. Chair, I concur with the findings of fact.
Okay, call vote.
Gatsky,
Yes.
Diedrich,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Trillion,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson,
Aye.
Storhog,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
and Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Motion passes. We need some signatures. You on these two forms. And give me 1 second. How do I go up here?
Variant 2022-013. Brian Hanson has made an application. 2022 variance 013 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance. Article 11, 01A Agricultural District, Area Regulation Number 8, conforming lots. The property is described as Lot 5 in Cunningham subdivision in the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 28, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, located at 5603 Ratham Loop, Brookings, South Dakota 57006. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a staff report?
Yes. Mr. Hanson, of course, lives on Ratham Loop, Lot 5 in Cunningham subdivision, northeast 1/4, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, located at 5603 Ratham Loop, Brookings, South Dakota. This is over by the gun club, in case you don't know where Ratham Loop is. It's little east of the gun club, west of the gun club, I guess. Article 11, Section 1101 in the Agricultural District Area Regulations for non-conforming lots. This means this was a subdivision that was built, permitted before 1975, and the zoning ordinance took effect. So the setbacks are different for non-conforming lots. A setback typically on this lot would be 50 feet from the road. Mr. Hanson has applied for a roadside variance to build a 24-foot by 30-foot detached garage 25 feet from the road, which would be a variance of 25 feet. This is a non-conforming lot where the roadside setback is 50 feet. The side yard setback is 8 feet and the rear yard is 50 feet. The proposed detached garage will be 10 feet from the house, and he will exceed the required side and rear yard setbacks. The structure is a replacement for an existing storage building that was destroyed in the May 12th, 2022 derecho storm. Things to consider are shape and size of the lot. Cunningham subdivision was platted in December 1974 prior to our current setback requirement. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on June 21 and 28, 2022. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, South Dakota Department of Transportation, Aurora Township, Chairman and Clerk. And here's his written request. 10 feet from the house, which is typical for fire code setbacks. There is relationship from the actual right-of-way, US 14. That's why they was notified. And here's the Richard went out and took the photographs. And Mr. Hanson is here, I believe. Is that correct? Yep. And that's the end of the report, sir.
Now open a public hearing. Are there any proponents to this issue? Seeing none, any opponents to this issue? We will close the public hearing. Any additional comments or questions from the board? Can we go over the findings of fact?
On this one, I won't necessarily read verbatim everything again. What we'll do is hit the high points, and if you have a question on one of the verbatim things, let me know and I can reread it. Basically, variant 013, Mr. Brian Hanson, Lot 5, Cunningham Subdivision, northeast of Section 28, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, located 5603 Ratham Loop, Brookings, South Dakota 57006. 5th day of July 2022. Once again, Brookings County Board of Adjustment on number 1 is the strict application of the zoning ordinance. Number 2 is the Board of Adjustment finds condition or situation is not so general. Number 3, once again, that the petitioner has written in writing what circumstances occurred to the building. In this case, it would have been a severe weather event. And number 4, Brookings County Board of Adjustment finds the reasons for the request is the minimum variance that would work in this particular lot. The special conditions or safeguards that the Board of Adjustment has reviewed and accept as part of the requirements is shape and size of the lot. Is that Cunningham or Cunningham? I'm going to get me a new person that types. There we go. Cunningham subdivision platted in December 1974 prior to the zoning setbacks. The proposed detached garage is a replacement for an existing smaller structure that was destroyed during the May 12, 2022 derecho. And if approved by 2/3 vote, the petitioner will be allowed to build a 24 by 30 detached garage of 9 foot, sidewall 25 feet from the road and 10 feet from the house. This variance will be conditioned upon the safeguards in number 5, which we read. And the variance must be used within 3 years or to be invalid. It would be dated July 5th, 2022, signed July 5th, 2022, and filed on July 6th, 2022. End of the report, sir.
Mr. Chair, I've got one question. Luke Muller here, First District, that might bolster those findings. Maintains that loop. I'm curious about, is that the township or is that just basically you get the luxury of maintaining your stretch? Might be worth mentioning that he's the one that's going to feel the pain if it's too close. He's the one that maintains the road, and he's the one getting the benefit from it. And obviously, he didn't object to it.
Okay, so That's called Ratham Loop, right? Is a private road maintained partially by landowner. Is that something like you're looking for?
That's exactly what I was getting at. Yep. That's one of those unique things to this one, I'd say.
Anything else from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I concur with findings of facts.
Thank you. All vote.
Okay, Diedrich,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Truian,
Aye.
Aye. Storhog,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
and Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Motion passes. Get you to sign those two. And let's see if I can figure this one out. Move that.
Twenty 2022 variant 014. Slade Larscheid, hope I didn't butcher that, has made an application, 2022 variant 014, to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance. Article 11, Section 11.01A Agricultural District, Area Regulation Number 2, Front Yard. Minimum depth of the front yard shall be 100 feet. The corner lot shall have 2 front yards. The property is described as the west 493 feet, of the east 823 feet, of the north 530 feet, of the northeast quarter, of the northwest quarter, of Section 11, Township 110 North, Range 50 West, Brookings Township, located at 232 42nd Street, Brookings, South Dakota 57006. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Can we read the staff report?
Okay, Mr. L. 2729, I crucified name, sorry. Wood Duck Trail, Brookings, I actually never heard of Wood Duck Trail, but that's fine. 57006. Legal description, west 493rd feet, of the east 823rd feet, of the north 530 feet, of the northeast quarter, of the northwest quarter, of Section 11, Township 110 North, Range 50 West, Brookings Township, located again at 232 42nd Street, Brookings, South Dakota. And just for the board's information, since it's 42nd Street and it's in the joint jurisdictional area. Article 11, Section 11.01A, Agricultural District, Area Regulations Number 2, Front Yard. The minimum depth of the front yard shall be 100 feet. A corner lot will have 2 front yards. 2022 VAR 014, Slade L. has applied for a front yard variance to build a 30 by 60-foot house addition 108 feet from the center of 42nd Street, 209th Street also, and a variance of 32 feet. The required front yard setback is 150 feet from the center of the road. They will meet the side and rear setbacks. Things to consider are there's a rural water line running through there, telephone and electric line run across the east side of the property line. Number 2, a septic tank is located south of the house and east of the garage. Number 3, an existing machine shed is located east of the house limits where an addition can be built. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on June 21 and June 28, 2022. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, Brookings County Highway Department, and Brookings Township and clerk. His application was filed on June 14th, 2022. And this is let me see if I can shrink that down here. This is what his property area looks like, and you can see on here, he put his utilities, septic system, rural water line, existing house, driveway, and of course the county road. And his shelter belts. This is what it looks like off the map itself. Richard put the wheel right there. Here's some of the utilities. Another driveway. And the septic system. Someone with a lot of hair pointed it out to Richard. That's the end of the report, sir.
All right. This time we'll open the public hearing. Any proponents to the issue? Hearing, seeing none. Any opponents to the issue? Seeing none.
I do have one letter, if I may, Mr. Chairman. It says, "To whom it may concern, we are Timothy and Peggy Peterson. We are neighbors directly east of the L property. We do not oppose the zoning request of the L property. Thank you, Timothy and Peggy Peterson." Received July 5th, 2022, with the Brookings County Development Stamp. That's the end of
Nothing else. We will close the public hearing. Any additional comments or questions from the board? And we hear the findings of the fact.
Yes, once again, we'll do them abbreviated. Mr. L, of course, lives at the west 493rd of the east, 823rd of the north, 530 of northeast of the northwest quarter of Section 11, Township 110 North, Range 50 West, Brookings Township, 232 42nd Street, Brookings, South Dakota 5706. The public hearing has been held on July 5th, 2022. We looked at the strict application under number 1. Number 2, we reviewed the conditions of the property. Number 3, we found that the written application of the petitioner demonstrated some special conditions that are peculiar to this particular land. Number 4, we further find that the reasons justify the granting of the variance. And number 5, some of the conditions on this variance and what the board considers special conditions or safeguards are the shape and size of the lot, location of existing water, electric, and telephone lines east of the house, and the septic system located on the south side of the house and east side of the attached garage, and the existing storage shed located 32 feet east of the house. If approved by 2/3 vote of its membership, Mr. L will be allowed to build a 30 by 60 residential addition 108 feet from the 42nd Street, AKA Brookings County Gravel Road number 46, which is a county road. This variance, everything would need to be met through number 5, A through C. And if approved, Brookings County Zoning Director will be authorized to issue required building permits. It must be used within 3 years or it would be invalid. It will be dated July 5th, 2022. It will be signed July 5th, 2022, and it will be filed officially on July 6th, 2022. End of the findings, sir.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
I concur with the finding of fact.
Thank you. Can we have the vote?
Well, Vanderwall,
Aye.
Truian,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson,
Aye.
Storhog,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
Diedrich,
Aye.
and Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks.
If I can get you to sign those, and I will take the watermark off. I will. Am I supposed to read some of this stuff? Or? This campground stuff? What's it for? Oh.
Well, that takes care of all of our business for the evening. Do we have any department reports?
Yep, 1 second. Let me get all this. All right. We did get our federal declaration for what's known as public assistance, which means the municipalities, any town or county or city government agency FEMA will be here on July 19th, and we'll have a meeting July 19th to go over what's going to be covered and what's not. We did not take enough damage to non-insurance houses to get what's known as individual assistance. So there will be no individual assistance provided in Brookings County. And Luke, do you have anything to add to it?
Not really, other than just, with the variances you saw tonight, really seem kind of like no-brainers or things you might want to just kind of dog ear on your zoning book, and you might want to review setbacks in situations like these, and also how to streamline that process on the gentleman who had the sign off there. That's a discussion for me with staff on taxonomy, but just kind of dog ear those as things that we talk about as we update ordinances.
And other than that, I will be at a National Association of County Officials meeting July 20 through July 25th. And when I'm gone, Richard and Raylyn will be holding the fort down. That's all I have, sir. Raylyn, do you have anything additional? That's all we've got.
Any need for an executive session?
If anything comes out of tonight's meeting and we do need one, I would schedule time with the attorney, but we would have to have an attorney here to have a executive, so not tonight.
Got a motion to adjourn?
I think we got.
Would like to bring one thing to the attention of the board. A little disappointing to find out at jurisdictional meeting that the amendment to the board was proposed by a member that had a conflict of interest that was not disclosed. The land that was removed from the joint jurisdictional area was owned by the member that made. I don't know what it is that we need to do from here.
Chair, a couple of things come to mind. One is conflict of interest. Brian's relatively new to us and probably didn't realize it, but at the same time, it is a conflict of interest. So a couple of to make a motion to reconsider it this evening, since it's the first meeting after that meeting that's allowed, but it has to be a motion made by somebody on the prevailing side. In other words, the people who voted to move it back to the original area. The second option is it could be probably declared an invalid vote because of a non-disclosure of a conflict of interest. At which point we would then have probably Brookings County State's Attorney involved with whether or not it was invalid, and then we would have to take it up again in a future meeting as if it's invalid, it didn't happen, basically. So that's an option. We can take it to the State's Attorney and get a legal opinion on conflict of interest and the invalidation of that particular amendment.
I don't mean to bring it up as something to be, obviously both Commissioner Bartlett side of it, it was nothing that's a personal situation. It was just something that was brought to my attention the day after that that was the case. And the vote landed where it landed. Makes no difference really either way to me. But it's something that I think, as a board, something that we should at least address.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, if we take it back to the state's attorney, I think any action would probably require another public hearing on the matter. And to allow the public input to the thing, and whether or not the vote would change, we don't know that, but the way the state of South Dakota has the sunshine laws and the South Dakota codified law, you almost have to do it this way, in my opinion. Otherwise, you're going to get into a catch-22, and farther down the line, someone could sue us in court, and you know, right now we're working on the joint jurisdiction ordinance. Theoretically, in the future, they could just toss the whole joint jurisdiction ordinance because we didn't do this one portion right. But if I'd entertain Mr. Mueller if you have any comments.
I think probably the smartest thing to do is to just make sure you run it by the state's attorney that this is an item that isn't going to be an issue or could possibly be an issue. I will say that in my experience, typically something that could be brought up in a legal challenge in the future, then I'd just soon you redo it. That's generally what I hear. That said, I don't know if your state's attorney will find this as not as big of a deal. I don't know. That legislative actions sometimes are a little different than Board of Adjustment, but it's still something I'd probably run by them.
I don't know that we need a motion to take it to the state's attorney. We'll just do it.
I'll send it to them tomorrow morning, and when I get a report back, I'll have Ray Lynn send it to the whole board so everyone knows what's
Basically
going on.
requesting his opinion.
Yeah, we can, after you figure that part out, you can figure out procedurally after that as to how you do it, because in all reality, I think you could probably just do we'll deal with probablys later. I don't even want to get into probablys, but
Yep.
I think it could be simpler than what we did last time.
Very good. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Anybody else from the board?
Anything else from anybody? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.